Good morning.
Good morning.
Jim, more and more we're getting a certain type of email from people. And this one in particular struck me, and I thought this would be a good morning conversation topic. And what this man was saying was that more and more as he's watching the world around him, he's getting sucked into the dramas, the noise, the problems, what he's watching. And he's a new person, and so he doesn't have all the MA tools yet. And so he's wanting to know what is the dynamic, what's going on, because he said it's almost like he leaves his body. And he wants to know what the dynamic is and how to stop doing that. So
Yeah, that doesn't just apply to a new person. That really applies to all of us when we observe something that is not in alignment with well-being or how we think the world should be. So the real question is, how do I not get sucked into? How do I not go to? So, let's go back to the basic tools. I mean, the basic tool, the rose. So this is me, and that's the Shakespeare's theater for my entertainment. But sometimes viewing it as entertainment gets lost in translation. So the real piece of this is, as all of these pieces of Mastering Alchemy come together, the words come together, the alignment with the words, the building the platform, the staying on your side of the rose, the observing from the center of your head, all of that begins to work as a unit of singular function. The key piece, though, that's so hard for everybody, including me and you, we get sucked into this every once in a while, is you watch all this man in humanity to man and woman in the process. And the first thing that's hard, but the real answer is, this is a transition from a 3D world to well-being, and you can't take your baggage with you. And everybody's in a state of transition. A lot of people are arguing for their status quo, and they're arguing for their sense of how they've developed themselves based on their own internal fears. The fears being, I have to be in control, I have to dominate, I have to step on other people. So it really comes down to those tools that you begin to use.
The dynamic, though, of going to is you're in the center of your head having a fine day, and you see this thing happening over there, and so you move your attention point all through the noise and drama of 3D, and you put your attention point over at that thing.
Yeah, instantaneously.
And so therefore you're not in the center of your head anymore, and once you decide, okay, come back, you have to move all the way through that noise again. And so in the first part, what you saw as a blue circle, by the time you go out and back, it's now a green square.
Yeah.
So not only are you leaving your space, you're returning with something that's inaccurate.
Yeah. So you when you go to that over there, instead of staying in your head and center of your head and observing that over there, what you're saying is you move through all the noise, all the variations of noise, and then all the way back you bring back variations of the noise. So even if what you were seeing the first time you saw it was a truth, by the time you go there and you bring it back, it's been massaged, it's been transitioned, it's simply not the same story that you were looking at. So that bodes well for, right at the beginning, what we teach so much is stay in the center of your head and observe the wall, but don't go to the wall. And at the beginning, people think, oh, what are you talking about? But once you begin to realize that you don't have to move, that one piece begins to be launching a whole arrangement of how you manage yourself.
Well, just being able to recognize when you're in the center of your head versus when you're not is huge.
It's huge.
And if you can discern, how does it feel when I'm in the center of my head? How does it feel when I'm not? 100% of the time, you're going to enjoy being in the center of your head more. So identifying that spot and then recognizing the distinction between there and not there is a huge find, and it will help you stay in the center of your head.
So this is really a big deal. That's why it's one of the very first tools you teach. And a little exercise you can do if you don't understand what we're talking about is just right where you're sitting, see the other side of the room, and then go over to the other side of the room. It's like, we do that all the time. It's like, oh yeah, look at that. There you go. See if you can notice that sensation of going there, and then be in the center of your head, and from here just look through your eyes at that. And then close your eyes and turn your head slightly, and then open your eyes, staying in the center of your head, and see what's ever over there. And just play with this 8, 10, 15 times type of thing, and get a sense of the difference between moving, leaving, and staying.
A trick that I found at the very beginning when we were doing this is if I would close my eyes, get into the center of my head, and create a little place, a little chair, a little environment in there, and then see my eyes as if they're windows. And then when I open my eyes, it's like I'm still sitting in my chair, but I'm looking through the windows at that thing.
Yeah. Now this may seem like pretty insignificant in a way.
It's big.
It is huge, because when you're constantly leaving, going to, the other part of it is you leave yourself over there. And so at the end of the day, you're exhausted in terms of leaving part of you everywhere. And it's not only that you leave part of you over there for today, you leave part of you over there always. It's always in that past time space. So the going to simpleness is really very valuable. Where it's very valuable is when you begin to see some of these disturbing events, you have a moment to choose. Do I put my finger in that light socket and argue with it and get all revved up about it? Or do I recognize it as an inequality that is not okay, but I'm not going over there and getting wound up in that energy and then bringing it all back and then running it through my body? And so it's a simple technique, but it is a potent technique.
Well, yes, going over there, getting it all over you, bringing it back, doesn't feel good to you. But if you go to something, you're not there. So you're not going to be as effective in that situation because you're not fully there.
Right. So
Does that make sense?
But what happens is, it's as if you're over there touching it, and that's irritation happens in the body. When you come back, you just don't necessarily remember all the pieces to it. So there's distortion in that space. But this space of beginning to manage you is really a very key part of not going to. How do you basically begin to be grounded, center your head on your side of the rose? Because the world's about to change again. And in this change, there's going to be more disruption, more things to really get amplified about. It's all part of the shift. Nobody promised a comfortable shift, but it can be considerably more comfortable if you can begin to navigate it from places like in the center of your head. So, not going to is a learned skill.
And it's very doable.
And it's very valuable. So, go out and be in the center of your head.